Hey guys, Chris from Average Skate Reviews here, and today we're going to be taking a look at a completely different board, something that you probably never thought we would do, which is looking at boards that are way below the £1,000 mark, in this case even below the £500 mark. We've seen a few comments from you guys saying that we typically focus on skateboards that are very expensive, and of course not everyone can afford those. So to kick off the series where we look at more affordable boards, we're going to be looking at Outdoor Masters Cruiser, which is the board leaning against my piano just over here. Now, a couple of reasons why I wanted to start off with this board is not only because it's a hub motor board, so it looks like a generic longboard or skateboard. So if you're riding around in a city like London, where we've heard a lot of riders are getting stopped when you're on boards that very clearly look electric, they've got motors on the back of them, they're loud, they're fast. This would be a great board for anyone that wants something a little bit more incognito, something that might allow you to kind of like skate past the police if they're stopping a lot of people riding electric products or vehicles without any kind of attention, because being a hub board, the motors are inside the rear wheels, the deck is very thin and low profile. It looks essentially like a regular skateboard. At a quick glance, it doesn't look like this thing's electric. So any riders out there that are kind of keeping that in mind, this would be a great place to look. Pretty much any hub boards are a good incognito mode of electric transportation in cities that are a little bit hazy when it comes to electric skateboards. Now, in addition to that, I mentioned this board is sub £500. It costs roughly £300. So it's definitely on the lower side in terms of the price point of the boards that we typically look at. So I thought it'd be a great board to start off with in terms of trying to look at boards that are a lot more affordable. So let's jump into it and look at what my first impressions of this board have been like and what the experience has been riding it around and how it's kind of like panned up against the boards that we typically check out. Let's jump in. Now, of course, as always, we're going to be splitting the video down into categories. We always start with categories. The first one I'm going to be looking at is the top speed. Now, with this particular board, the Cruiser from Outdoor Master, the top speed is, on the website says 24 miles an hour, which is pretty close. I'd be getting somewhere on average between 22 and 23 miles an hour in terms of like flat out smooth surfaces, no inclines or declines. So if you're kind of a similar build to myself, which is roughly about 76 kilograms, that's the sort of top speed you can expect to get out of the board. Now from there, it's going to be the range. The range that I was able to get out of this board, on the website it states 15 miles. I was sat somewhere between 10 and 12. Of course, you guys know how we ride our boards. It's always going to be kind of fully pinned. We don't kind of cruise in the mid-range or in the lower settings or lower modes that the remote has. It's always going to be fastest mode and kind of pinning it as much as we possibly can wherever we're riding. Now from there, it's going to be the kind of like feel and general ride of this board. When we look at the actual concave, it's got a very kind of like, I'd say mid, it's not very aggressive and it's not very subtle, but it has a mid U concave. So your feet kind of sink into it quite nicely. In terms of what it feels like, it's single kingpin trucks, but they use a kind of like shock absorption technology that they've got themselves. It's a patent shock absorption system that they've added to their trucks. It helps a little bit, but of course these are street wheels, so they are much softer than a lot of the hub boards that we have ridden out there, and they're much thicker than a lot of the other hub boards that we've ridden. So it is a little bit more comfortable, but it's a street wheel, it's a fairly small diameter, so you can expect to feel, you know, a lot of the bumps and vibrations when you're cruising around. But at the same time, with a top speed of kind of like the early 20s, you're not going fast enough to be too concerned about the type of wheels that you're using. But as a kind of like city commuter, a board that you're using to get from point A to point B in a big city, kind of like your last mile vehicle, or if it's your first electric skateboard and you're trying to get into the kind of like system of riding, how it feels, getting your confidence built up, your skill, this is definitely going to be a good board for you to kind of like get started out with. So if you're looking for a good entry-level electric skateboard, this is definitely where it's at a price point of just about £300. Now, when we look at the design, I actually pretty like the design of this board. It's very sleek. The bottom of the board is actually very smooth. It's going to be one of those boards that's going to be super easy to maintain and clean. And again, the big selling feature for me is if you're the type of rider that's trying to have something that's incognito, or you're kind of getting started riding electric skateboards, this is a really good board to start off with, because not only is it incredibly lightweight, so it's this type of board you could kind of throw over your shoulder, pick up at a train station, like run up a flight of stairs. It's also very, very thin, so it doesn't look like it's an electric skateboard, so I feel like you can get away with quite a lot with this particular board. It only weighs 7.6 kilograms, which I thought is definitely going to be the ideal kind of weight to be able to lug around a city, bus stations, upstairs in an office, compared to the boards that we typically ride, which are 13 to 14 kilograms in weight. So this is literally half the weight of the boards that we typically ride. Now, looking through the remote and what it has, the remote is kind of what you would expect. It's not kind of like your big beefy remote. It does feel very plasticky, but it does the job, and at the price point, you can't really argue with that. The particular remote has 4 different speed modes that allow you to kind of like toggle depending on your experience and your ability on the board. Top speed being stated as 24 miles an hour. I was getting a little bit less than that, and you have a much slower mode, and of course, the modes in between. As you kind of build confidence, you can increase the board's speed so you don't find yourself going faster than you want it to actually go. But from there, the remote kind of displays the usual information that you'd expect to see, the battery's life and also the remote's life in bars rather than percentages. You guys know I'm a big fan of percentages, but this particular remote has bars. It will show you like an odometer of how much you've been riding, so all of the regular information that you'd expect a remote to have. And it charges via USB Type-C, which I think should just be a standard with all electric skateboards now. Let's do away with these micro USB cables or other ports. Everything should just go USB Type-C, because I feel like it's a cable and a port that pretty much everyone has in their house at this point. Now, from there, looking at the actual riding experience of this board, the patterned absorption trucks that these boards have aren't too bad. If you compared it to like a standard hub motor board with the regular single kingpin trucks, it definitely does add a little bit of cushioning to your riding, which is always appreciated when you're on street wheels. So it definitely is a little bit better than what you would typically see. And for the price point, £300, you really can't go wrong with that. In addition to this, the way the board kind of like handles and carves, for the price point, again, it is fairly smooth. I don't think I've seen another board at the same price point that kind of performs as smoothly. So if you're looking for like that entry-level board, or you're looking for something that's really incognito to get you around a city, this is definitely a good place to start off with. Carving and cruising on this board was okay in terms of it being on street wheels. It wasn't an experience that wasn't enjoyable. Of course, as always, you guys know that we'd love to have a board that has a bit more speed, but again, for the price, you really can't go wrong. It carves fine, it handles fine, the brakes are good, the acceleration is good, and it has a good top speed to be like a good city board to get you from point A to point B. Now, of course, this was just a quick first impressions of this board. If you want to see a much detailed review after I've spent a bit more time riding it, let me know in the comment section down below. But if you want to find out where you can pick it up, the link down below will be there for Outdoor Monster, so you can check out this board while it's on sale for roughly £300. If you're looking for that entry-level board, you're looking for something to get you around a city nice and incognito, this is going to be a good shout for you to start off with. But a big thank you for watching the video all the way to the end. Make sure you like and subscribe. Stay tuned for the full in-depth review of this board. And thank you for watching, guys, and take care. Until next time.